Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason in Topeka, Kansas, and I'm just right in front of the state capital of Kansas. Yes, the great state of Kansas, home on the range. Yeah, Toto, I think I'm still in Kansas. Okay, enough dad jokes. But yes, we're going to be taking a tour of the place inside. I'm also going to be going up in the dome briefly, like literally all the way up to the top. Yep, that's right. But you're going to be learning a lot about the great state of Kansas, so come with me and enjoy this journey. And usually, right at the beginning of every state capital episode, I always like to talk about the significance of the particular state, as well as about the Capitol building. Okay, so about the Kansas State Capitol, it can also be known as the Kansas State House. This houses the legislative and the executive branches of Kansas government. This was built from 1866 to 1903. Topeka had been the state capital since Kansas became a state in 1861. It was suggested by those who were against slavery in Lecompton, Kansas, which was the first territorial capital, that the capital be here, which was not too far from Lecompton. It's about, I want to say, 15 miles. The building was declared officially complete in 1903 after 37 years. It was not until 1988 that a design for a sculpture to stand on top of the dome was finally approved. It's called the Ad Astra. This was remodeled in 2001 and it was finished on 2014. And there are lots of things added to it, including a visitor center. It looks really nice on the inside. All right, Kansas state facts. Kansas was the 34th state added to the Union on January 29th, 1861. The 5 largest cities of Kansas are, in this order: 5, the city that I'm standing in, Topeka, also the capital. Number 4, Olathe. Number 3, Kansas City, not to be confused with Kansas City, Missouri. Number 2, Overland Park. Not surprisingly, the last 3 are all part of the Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas combined metropolitan area. And then number 1, Wichita. Wichita has close to 400,000 people, but their metro area has about 200,000 more. It is known as the air capital of the world. Kansas State Fairgrounds are located in Hutchinson, which is pretty much in the central part of the state. The state's population has over 2.9 million people, but I personally believe pretty soon it will pass up to 3 million. It currently ranks as the 34th most populous state in the United States. As far as population density, it ranks number 41. Kansas is the 15th largest state by area. Okay, I gotta say something about this number 34. So I was figuring this out earlier. Okay, so it was the 34th state admitted to the Union, 34th largest state by population, and one of the only presidents from Kansas, Dwight Eisenhower, was the 34th president of the United States. See a connection there? Okay, not just me then. The state's nickname is the Sunflower State. The unofficial nickname for Kansas is the Free State. The state's song is Home on the Range. The state animal is the American bison. The state insect is the European honeybee. 2 of the state's top industries are the 2 A's, agricultural and aerospace. Kansas was the first state to ratify the 15th Amendment, which gave African American men the right to vote. Several historic trails and roads have passed through Kansas: the Chisholm Trail, the Oregon Trail, the Pony Express, the Santa Fe Trail, and of course Route 66, to name a few. And as far as the culture of the state, Kansas has plenty to brag about. And no, I'm not talking about just the Wizard of Oz stuff. Now, I did a video on this years ago when I visited Kansas Legends outside Kansas City, but I'll go ahead and read off what I found so far. Okay, Kansas was where the first computer chip was invented, the first NASCAR race, helium was discovered here, graham crackers were invented here, so for all you s'mores lovers out there, there you go. 2 legendary food chains started in Wichita, White Castle and Pizza Hut. Kansas was the first state in which a town elected their first female mayor. That was Susanna Salter, who was mayor of Argonia, Kansas in 1887. Kansas was also the first state to institute a system of workers' compensation. That was in 1910. It also takes the bragging rights for having the geographical center of the contiguous 48 states of the United States, which I covered in a previous video. Here's some more factoids. The width of the state is exactly 400 miles. As far as weather, Kansas is in Tornado Alley. Dodge City is known to be the windiest city in the United States. Forget Chicago. and some famous people from Kansas. This is just a short list of a lot of people, but Survivor host Jeff Probst, Amelia Earhart, Vivian Vance, I Love Lucy fame, Aaron Brockovich, Buster Keaton, the silent movie actor, rocker Joe Walsh, and lastly, there are a lot of weird laws passed in the state. Hear me out here. Okay, it is illegal in Topeka to sing the alphabet on the streets at night. It is illegal to eat snake on Sundays anywhere in Kansas. It is illegal to shoot rabbits from motorboats. Lastly, it is illegal in Derby County, Kansas to punch or hit a vending machine if it takes your money. So yes, Kansas definitely has a culture of its own. There's lots of good museums here. Here in Topeka, there is the Evel Knievel Museum. I'll have to check that out if I have extra time. So I'm gonna go ahead and take you on a tour of this grand building. So the best place to start is, first you gotta park in the parking garage, which is beneath us, or beneath here, and this is the visitor center. And then it's basically a museum of everything, all things Kansas. Like they got pictures of the construction of the state capitol. Like it says here, it begun in 1866. The State House took 37 years to build it. It was built in sections. I'm not going to show you everything, but I'll show you a few things I found interesting. So here's one notable exhibit, the 25 most notable Kansans. Starting with John Brown, the abolitionist. Nancy Kassebaum, the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate in her own right. She was the daughter of presidential candidate Alpha Landon, the Republican candidate who tried to go against Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Let's see what else I can find down here. I forgot about Bob Dole, I don't know why, but yes, he was, I remember when he was a presidential candidate, he ran for president in 1996, but he couldn't compete with Bill Clinton because he was running a strong economy, and yeah. But Bob Dole did have a prestigious career. I mean, he was a decorated World War II veteran, and he spent a lot of time in the U.S. Senate, 20 years to be exact. James Naismith, the man who invented basketball. I don't know why, but I always forget that he's from the state. Here's Satanta, leader of the Kiowa Nation. Gordon Parks, photographer and author, became the first African American to direct a major motion picture. Wow. Now in the 90s, What Would Jesus Do was a popular Christian, before even memes were invented, but it was a popular Christian brand, I guess, or common phrase. But Charles Sheldon of Topeka, who was a congressional minister, he published one of the most popular books of all time, In His Steps, based on his sermons, What Would Jesus Do? So this here is an original window from the dome when it was completed in 1903. Wow, I'm going to touch this thing. Man. It's a copper door from the Capitol Dome used to access the outside viewing deck. Very nice. Here's a Kansas banner that was used until the adoption of the official Kansas flag in 1927. A chair carved out of cottonwood, which is a state tree, and this was put up in 1937. Now, interestingly, one thing you'll see throughout the state capitol tour is lots of copper. And the tour lady was telling me that, I mean, there's always been copper in the building, but it wasn't cleaned until 1999. Like, because there was so much dirt and tobacco smoke stains and a bunch of others. I mean, it was collecting a lot of residue and everything, but they were all cleaned and they were all put with a coat on there. And of course, that was like, I think, a year or two before the 14-year remodeling of this Capitol building. And this is to certify that the Kansas State Capitol was entered on the National Register of Historic Places on September 3rd, 1971. All right, so I'm on the first floor, and usually I like to start in the center of the building, in the rotunda. And yes, I will be going up there. I'm planning on taking the dome tour, so yeah, I'm gonna go up really, really high. Now this one doesn't really have, okay, it does have a little centerpiece, so, okay. I'm literally standing in the center of the Capitol. Really cool. And then it also has like a compass, west, south, looking east. Lots of murals. I wish I can analyze each one, so. All right, I gotta pick a place to start, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and walk this way. And like all the other states, they have a Liberty Bell replica. This was put up in 1976, presented to the people of Kansas by the American Legion and American Legion Auxiliary. Some are placed outdoors, some are indoors. Obviously, this one's indoors. It's got that crack and everything. And something that the tour lady told me was there used to be a really big chandelier that was gas powered, and then in World War II it was donated for scrap metal purposes, you know, just to donate to the war effort. So from 1942 to 2014, which was the last year of the big remodel of this Capitol, yeah, throughout that entire time there was no lighting or chandelier. It was basically relying on natural light, I believe. But yes, a nice big chandelier was put there. So that's been 11 years now. And this is one of the newest murals here in the Capitol. This was actually dedicated this year in 2025. It was put up by the Kansas League of Women, and this is titled Rebel Women. It was done by Phyllis J. Ganbei Kuhn of Manhattan, Kansas, not too far from here. And it lists all the women that are depicted on the painting, but very cool. This flag that I'm looking at on display, it was flown aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia from November 12th to 14th of 1981. Very cool. It's got a little spacey feeling. So up until about 1978, this was where the Supreme Court met until the Kansas Judicial Center opened across the street. But it has been restored to its original appearance, so. And it looks like all the justices are on the wall. Nice chandeliers. Pretty cool. Oh, and I'm on TV too. Hey! And now I'm on the second floor in the center of it. There are 4 limestone statues. They were all created by a gentleman from Hays, Kansas, Peter Felton. There's Dwight David Eisenhower. Yeah, that's him over there. And then that is William Allen White. That is Arthur Capper. And then Amelia Earhart. And all of them have time capsules underneath them, which I find to be very interesting. And in case you're wondering about all these flags that are here in the rotunda, now these are all flags from nations or states that have claimed all or portions of Kansas. Okay, so you got the United States, of course, the French monarchy, the French Republic, Mexico, United Kingdom, Spain, Texas, and Kansas. Wow, that is so cool. You know, it's just stuff that you don't really think of, you know, if you're not from here. And it's also worth noting about all the murals that are around this floor, as well as above. Like, a lot of them have stuff to do with, like, the frontiers, the Wild West, tornadoes, stuff that's very common here in the great state of Kansas. And, of course, cattle. And people trying to survive on the frontier, starting a new life with their families, coming to the West. Here's one about an oil rig that demonstrates the varied resources present here in the state of Kansas. But here is the governor's office, Governor Laura Kelly, who is the current sitting one. You want to see what she looks like? Come over here. Yep, that is her. And pictured next to her are 2 other politicians that went to the high office in the United States. One of them you already know is Dwight David Eisenhower. who was the 34th President of the United States from the 34th State of the Union. 34 is a lucky number, I guess. And then Charles Curtis, who was the Vice President of the United States under the Herbert Hoover administration. He is buried here in Topeka, and his old home is also welcome to visitors. So here you go. And here's another interesting mural that depicts history. Now, how far can Kansas go as discovering history? Easily goes back to the Native Americans, but one of the first Europeans, if not the first European, was in 1541, Francisco de Coronado, the Spanish explorer, and Padre Padilla, the Franciscan missionary, look out across vast expanse of the kingdom of Covera. Interesting stuff. And here is the office of the governor, meditation room. Okay. It's a quiet area. Very interesting. It's a little dark, but thought I'd come in here anyway. This is the second state capital where they've had one of these things. I think the first one was in Missouri, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, on to the next one. And that right there is the office of the Lieutenant Governor, David C. Toland, the current sitting one. Huh, very nice. And that's the governor's conference room next to it. And I'll show you something else that's interesting. Now, on top of those windows on the door, that's bicentennial windows for Kansas. They were put there, or dedicated on July 4th, 1976. They were created by Patrick McKinney, and it was presented by the VFW, or Veterans of Foreign Wars Department of Kansas. Very cool. Another thing worth noting is just about all the handrails on the states, they all have like copper plated with KS. I'm not going to go up the 4th floor. It doesn't look like there's very much, but the lady said, yeah, basically it's just a view, and you can pretty much just view all the House and Senate sessions. So I'm going to skip that, but I'm going to go straight to the 5th floor. And now here I am on the 5th floor. Here's a nice view from the top, or from the bottom rather, for the 5th floor, and then all the way down. And it looks like I'm looking east. Yeah, really cool. So let's see if this baby works. Well, I heard a ding. Uh-oh, I see the rope. It's moving. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, just like the Titanic. Hello.
Hi. What floor?
About the 3rd.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, wow. At 15 and after, like 1:15, 10:15, 2:15, you get the idea. They also do dome tours, but you just got to be here on the 5th floor. It's going to be a few minutes until somebody comes here, but I'll be taking a 296 step to the top of the dome. It's going to be challenging, so it's going to be a cardio workout for me. There are no seats, rest areas, restrooms on the tour route. So yeah, anybody who's got a fear of heights, breathing problems, heart, back, knee, or any kind of major disability should not be on the tour. No high-heeled shoes, speak quietly in the dome. Okay.
And the city.
And we're
They
at the
lined
very
it up
top.
with the river. And so they just looked like that was.
Oh, it's windy. Oh yeah. So I'm looking north, which is that way. This is a nice view of Topeka. Yeah, I know it's a little windy. Windy, all right.
And where you step out, that's 250 feet above the ground.
Huh.
There's
How many
325,
stories would that be?
they say.
All right, I'm gonna go down 296 the same way I came up.
Hold on to the handrail.
Oh, I will.
Go slow.
Okay, so I'm just kind of browsing the grounds, and as expected, there are a lot of memorials here, like Kansas Veterans Memorial, dedicated to the citizens of Kansas who lost their lives while serving in the armed forces. Gold Star Memorial. There is also the Kansas Law Enforcement Memorial. And here's one of many statues. This one is Abraham Lincoln. He did visit Leavenworth. Now there is a lot of markers here at this site at the Ad Astra Memorial, or Plaza rather, but I'm not going to read all of them. I'm just going to the only one I'm actually going to read about is the Kansa tribe, which inhabited the Kansas River Valley, where it was first encountered by European traders in the early 18th century. Centered around a number of villages, the society possessed a clearly demarcated social structure and rigid gender roles. The economy centered on cultivation of corn, beans, pumpkins, and the summer and fall buffalo hunts. Now, it is also said that they did a lot of trading with the Chouteau family of St. Louis. It says that on a different marker, but I'm not going to read it. But in 1863, actually going back to 1850s, when white squatters took over this area in the 1850s, in 1863, Congress authorized removal of all Indians from Kansas. The Kansas tribe was relocated to Oklahoma in 1873. And right in front of the Capitol, actually across the street, but on the grounds of the Judicial Building, is a historical marker that talks about how Topeka became the capital city of Kansas, but I'm not going to read most of it off because I already mentioned it, but and then it also mentions how Topeka was also the birthplace of United States Vice President Charles Curtis. Curtis was the first American Indian and the first Kansan to hold the office. Pretty cool. And here's a familiar one that I've seen on two other state capitol grounds. This is a replica of the Statue of Liberty. I've seen one in Missouri and Iowa, and with us being close to Kansas City, it doesn't surprise me that it's here. But these were placed in 1950 by the Boy Scouts of America during the Cold War. And lastly, Kansas's own Dwight David Eisenhower during his military years, most notably World War II. Kind of like what I saw in Washington, D.C. at the Eisenhower Memorial. Really nice. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason, right at the Kansas State Capitol grounds. Hope you learned a lot about the great state of Kansas, and join me for some more Capitol adventures in my playlist. All right, see you later. Signing off.